All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Millennials World podcast. And you know what, Brian? I've been thinking, right? It would be really interesting if there was a style of media that was long lasting. It involved anti-heroes. It was produced like movies, but that's never been done. Do you think that'd be interesting to do, Brian?
It would draw in all of the commerce, all of the ad revenue of network television, but all of the sort of the pretense and the social validity of, an award season big budget feature film. And that would just be the best thing. That'd be like the best of both worlds. It would be kind of like eating your dessert, but, tricking yourself into thinking you were having your vegetables.
No, absolutely. Actually, I'm getting a word from our handlers. That's apparently been a thing in TV. It was a period of TV for about 25 years. It's called prestige TV, which is something that I don't think
But
either of us are familiar with. Are you familiar with this term, Brian?
I don't know, man. I only watch Hanna-Barbera cartoons, softcore pornography. I watch To Catch a Predator, AI, Fruit Love Island. I really want the kiwi and the cherry to get together. It's not a popular take. I don't know about any of this prestige TV as they call it. Just really not my wheelhouse. But boy, I'm sure that if I sat down and gave it a chance, I'd really, really like it.
No, absolutely. So, all joking aside, this will be part two of our Prestige TV overview. And this week we're going to be reviewing the first season, otherwise known as the first 7 episodes of Breaking Bad. So, let's get into it. But before we get into it, Brian, let's bring back our segment, Cringe
Oh
Generational, Cringe
no.
Millennial Moment of the Week.
Uh-oh. Weak, 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 weak.
Whoa! Yeah! All right. And Brian, I did not tell you what the cringe generational segment, well, in this case, cringe millennial segment, was this week, but oh man, you're gonna fucking love this. I don't even know if this is a person you've ever heard of, but this is
Oh
the
no.
least ideologically confused American ever. So this week, I want to cover a gentleman by the name of Joshua Sutter. Are you familiar with Joshua Sutter, Brian?
I know that name, but I might have even only know them from you telling me about them in the past. I can't place it right now. I do feel like I've heard that name.
Okay, so I believe this is the first time I've ever heard this person today, so I might have found out about him years ago and just like rediscovered him today. This gentleman, once again, Joshua Sutter, I'm only going to read a few paragraphs from his Wikipedia article because I promise you, Brian, you will not see the direction of almost every sentence. It is fucking hilarious. You'll love this. Joshua Sutter, also known as Wolfram Hall, is an American neo-Nazi Satanist book publisher and FBI informant.
Very cool.
The son of a white supremacist activist, Sutter became a Christian identity adherent and was a Pennsylvania area leader of
Okay.
area nations in the early 2000s.
That's probably because I have read a little bit about Christian identity, so that's probably where I've read a little bit about this guy. He's probably earlier than that. He's not like a Nine Angles guy, is he?
I don't think so, but I just want to finish the paragraphs here and maybe
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
there'll be a connection there. So he attracted attention from law enforcement for repeatedly praising jihadist suicide bombers, suggesting that white supremacists emulate their tactics, and advocating for alliances between white supremacists and jihadists. He was appointed the Minister for Islamic Liaison of the Aryan nations before joining a spin-off group, the Church of the Sons of Yahweh.
Islamic liaison for the Aryan nations.
This is the least perturbed FBI
What?
informant. Holy shit. Following a 2003 arrest on gun charges, Sutter pleaded guilty and was sentenced to 2 years in prison. While imprisoned, he became an informant for the FBI and was released early. Though Sutter was widely suspected of being an informant by other members of the far right for decades, this was not publicly confirmed until 2021. The FBI paid Sutter over $140,000 from his services and used his house as part of
Nice
his
work
scheme.
if you can get it.
No, absolutely. And this is my favorite part of this here. And used his house as part of a scheme to target Americans who are pro-North Korea. He also operated a Hindu sect. Oh, here we are, Brian. This is exactly, you were totally correct. Following his exit from the Aryan nations, Sutter founded the Temple of Blood and group affiliated with the Order of Nine Angles.
Holy shit.
You were dead on for this.
I thought that was maybe not correct because Nine Angles it's relatively recent. I think it starts in like the 1980s, I believe, and it really didn't become like prominent in like reactionary circles until like the 2010s. To be honest, I have heard a little bit about this guy, or at least about maybe him and this general trend, this sort of accelerationist fascism that's kind of, it is confused, it is incoherent and weird. It's very American, right? It is very American in that it's the ideology, it's all vibes based, just like liberals, just like conservatives, just like most people that call themselves socialists in this country. This guy is going off vibes, right?
Oh, absolutely.
But
I mean, he has literally gotten himself involved, and a lot of that was FBI informant shit with like every niche, either far left or far right ideology you can possibly fucking think of. It's genuinely impressive.
I somewhat I reject the notion that a thing that you'll hear sometimes in analysis of fascism is that fascism is an aesthetic and that it's entirely aesthetic. And I think that's true to a point. I sometimes will push back when people say that's like the core of it. But this guy is absolutely fascism is an aesthetic. Like, and I'm sure it's also he was raised by a white supremacist, so it is more deeply ideological, more deeply personal. But this is like the simplest guy. This is a dumb guy who has an appeal to the violence, the image of power, the image of like subjugation, draws into whatever. Like, there's no consistency for it because it doesn't have to have consistency. For him internally, it's all consistent. The jihadist shit, the fucking neo-Nazi shit, his perception, potentially, unless that might also have been information, his perception of North Korea, this is all vibes-based power and subjugation shit, right? It is in its own way very coherent. It just has nothing to do with politics.
No, absolutely. And talk about the North Korea thing. I'm going to send this to you on the messenger chat, Brian. Look at his trailer. What do you notice about it?
Based! Let's go!
Guy rocks. And also on top of it, he also did infiltrate the Atomwaffen division, helping cause its dissolution. This man is incredible. Like, genuinely, and obviously we don't like him. He's a piece of shit. But at the same time, like, fascinating individual. I will give him credit for that.
One of the things is there must have been, during the time when he's like doing this, which again was probably pushed forward by his work as an FBI informant, this scam where he's reaching out to Americans who are sympathetic to North Korea, that probably really does have to do with his fascination with like his perception of North Korea and how that ties into how he perceives all these other ideologies. There must have been probably a perception of people who were some stripe of, what we would call a tanky, like a Marxist-Leninist, who he got into contact with, who were like, kind of like, well, this guy's fucking weird, right? Like, that must have happened. And what were they just like, this is a dumb guy? Do you think they sussed him out as a Fed? Because that must have happened.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's one of those things where like prisons are just full of extremist ideologies, obviously. Yeah. And especially federal prison. Like, federal prison is just full of some of the just most depraved motherfuckers that exist, especially in like organized crime. And I would consider supremacist ideologies to be part of organized crime, to be honest.
Well, I think that one leads to the other a lot of the time. It's going to be drawn towards like narcissistic thinking and violent and organized criminal acts. Maybe not that they're ideologically connected, but they'll attract a lot of times the same type of person.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, yeah, everything from like Aryan nations to like various black prison gangs and stuff. And, even the mafia. Like, the mafia is essentially a supremacist organization. They don't just allow like Irish person to be in the Italian mafia or whatever. You have to generally be like either half Italian, Sicilian, or whatever. That's a supremacist fucking ideology.
Well, yeah. And what's interesting is like they are a supremacist ideology, or at least they were, and maybe now they've kind of drifted more into like the criminal element that's maybe been lost over generations. But that absolutely was for decades a part of the Sicilian mafia. It comes from a place of Italian like workers who were being harassed or threatened or killed, being in contact with people in the old country and kind of like attempt to sort of coalesce, and it becomes that. It's funny how one-to-one, even from different groups and different ideologies, a lot of these same patterns kind of emerge almost to a T.
No, absolutely. And I'm only going to say one more sentence on this Wikipedia article, which is already wild, but this one just made me laugh. At the time, Sutter was a close associate of August Kreis, who is another white supremacist. A local newspaper columnist called them the Dumb and Dumber of the neo-Nazi movement, which made me laugh. But either way, so that is our little highlight of a particularly giant scumbag millennial, because he was born in 1981, so he just passes the millennial bar. Yeah. Oh, God. But speaking of things that are also very millennial-coded, Brian, let's get into Breaking Bad Season 1.
Season 1.
This is, and not this season in particular, but the entire TV show is my favorite TV show ever. And I've said that for many years now. It is endlessly compelling to me in a lot of different ways. I know, Brian, we were joking earlier. I know you're not a big fan of prestige TV, but I think you did say, though, that, because you did watch Season 1 like a long time ago. Right?
I watched Season 1 as it aired, and I actually had it on DVD when it was fairly new. Like, I intended at the time to keep up with Breaking Bad. I did like it.
But something probably happened that you didn't get the chance to, like, continue on the series, I'm assuming. Or it just got away from you or whatever.
So, yeah, I've talked about this in the past. I don't like prestige TV. And people always say, if you sit down and watch this show, it's really good. You're going to like it. I always do like all of these shows just fine. I like them well enough. I think that's pretty good. But then it's like, my God, it goes on for 6 seasons. It goes on for 10 seasons. It goes on for 20 seasons. Like, I don't want to keep watching this every day, every week. That's just not how I consume media, I think. Well, most of these shows...
Well, to be fair, though, Brian,
Oh.
real quick, the thing is, though, is that you talk about, like, having to watch an episode every day or whatever, but, like, you gotta remember, if it's going, like, 10 seasons, that's 10 years, and people watch them one episode at a time, like, for a week,
but
and
I
then
don't
they
wanna
wouldn't
have
get a
to
new
do
episode
that.
for, like, a year. But the thing is, I'm just saying is that, like, people think of it as, like, binge-watching culture that really became, like, prominent about 10 years ago, and then it got hyper-focused during COVID for obvious reasons, and now, basically, a lot of these shows, people just binge, but, like, that's not the way they're intended to be viewed for the most part.
Well, it is now, but Breaking Bad wasn't. Sopranos wasn't. Yeah.
No, exactly. Like, fucking Dexter wasn't. Like, The Walking Dead definitely fucking wasn't. Because if you did try to binge The Walking Dead, you'd kill yourself by the end of, like, one day.
The other thing is that, again, I've seen this season of television before, and I liked it enough that I bought the DVD of it when it was new. So unlike Dexter, I have a little bit of a prior history with this. As you can probably expect, I enjoyed this just on a personal level a lot more than Dexter, but I encounter the same thing, which is that it's very good, it's very competent, it's very professionally made, very good performances, very well written, and it's just not, I mean, it is compelling to me, but not enough. I'm just not pulled into shows like this the way that a lot of people are. But I do have things to say about this. I have, like, genuine good, but I've never understood that. Like, I've never understood this thing with Mad Men, with The Wire, with, like, The Sopranos, which I have to watch The Sopranos someday, because every time I watch it, I'm like, this is really fucking funny. This is really fucking good. I start watching it, and I just can't commit to doing it.
I totally get it. And, like, the other thing is, though, too, and to be fair, a lot of the criticisms you have of prestige TV are definitely the same criticisms that I have of prestige TV. Like, to be honest with you, like, you can make a show that is a prestige show and not have them be, like, an anti-hero. Like, they're literally always anti-heroes. And it's like, can we have a prestige TV show about, like, a nice dad or whatever in, like, a suburban fucking community? Like, why does it always have to be anti-heroes? I just don't fucking understand.
The problem with what you're describing is that you and I are imagining that show, and you're probably imagining, like me, like a Billy Jack type guy. The reality is that when that show gets made, it's Ted Lasso.
No, abso-fucking-lutely. And I think we talked a bit about it on the Dexter episode, but, you know, once again, real quick. So prestige TV was a era of TV, oftentimes usually signified by the beginning of The Sopranos, and then to a certain extent, Oz, I believe, is usually cited as one of the first TV shows. It was basically synonymous with HBO. Later on, it was AMC got really attached to it with, you know, Mad Men and Breaking Bad and The Walking Dead and stuff like that. And, Showtime had it with... It was premium cable. It was supposed to be an elevated style of television that was supposedly trying to bring, you know, movie production values on a TV kind of schedule. And the thing is that, like, I think generally I like these shows a lot. Like I said, I love Breaking Bad. It's my favorite show ever. I think half of The Walking Dead, about half is good. The rest of it's pretty much fucking garbage. Dexter, the original series, I feel basically the same way, but when Dexter was really, really high, it was high, and when it was low, it was pretty fucking low. You know, I've watched maybe the first half of the first season of Mad Men. I fucking loved it. I really want to get back into it. I've watched a couple episodes of Sopranos. I liked it a bit.
Of all these shows, that's the one that I am most independently oriented to watch.
Well, and that's the thing, though, too, and, you know, we're not necessarily going to spoil everything that happens in Breaking Bad, obviously, because we're only covering, you know, 10% of the entire show, basically, because it has about 60 episodes. But, like, The Sopranos, and, you know, some people interpret it as a good or bad ending, but typically speaking, you know, I think your main criticism of prestige TV, which I totally understand, is that they oftentimes have pretty disappointing conclusions, which I generally agree with. Because The Sopranos ending, people have generally hated that. I mean, some people understand it, some people see it as the finality, but they just don't show it. It, you know, just leaves you up to your imagination or whatever, which
feels kind of like a cop-out.
I think it's totally a fucking cop-out too, but I can understand some of the positive arguments, but I think it's mostly bad. You know, of course, the original series finale of Dexter is fucking garbage. Genuinely one of the worst finales ever. Everybody agrees with that. In fact, fun fact, the series finale of both Breaking Bad and the original run of Dexter aired on the same night. That is not a joke. They aired on the same night. The series finale of Breaking Bad is legitimately the best episode of the entire series, which isn't quite the audience consensus, but, like, it's usually in, like, the top 5 episodes of the entire series. Like, it's genuinely amazing. A great fucking episode. Genuinely, like, 10 out of 10. They couldn't have stuck the landing any better, but Dexter series finale, fucking garbage. Walking Dead season finale, like, could have been the season finale of, like, 7 seasons prior. It's just garbage. It doesn't need to exist. That's another thing about the prestige TV thing before we get to the synopsis of the first season of Breaking Bad. Like, you sent me a tweet a while ago, which is kind of funny, but I do have a little bit of a criticism of a tweet. I'm not going to get, like, fucking academic with it, but it was the whole thing about, what was it, surf vampires or something? And it was like, if you watch a show called Surf Vampires, you'd see that vampire surf every week, but if it's a prestige TV show, it's like he does it for the last 5 minutes in season 7 or whatever.
The whole first season is a flashback back to how he got the surfboard until you finally see him surf in the last 5 minutes of the season finale. Yeah.
And that's the thing, and like I don't want to spoil it too much for Breaking Bad. I mean, a series that concluded over 10 years ago, so it's not like super spoilers. But either way, like the thing about Breaking Bad is like Breaking Bad very much did the like allusions to future events in ways that other prestige TV shows usually botch the landing on. Like I was telling you about season 2. So season 2 begins with it's in Walt's pool, and there's like a bloody stuffed animal in the pool, and you're like, what the fuck is that? And then more things keep happening and adding on to that initial scene. And then the very last, like maybe 10 to 15, 20 minutes maybe of the last episode, you see what the like catalyst for that was, and it's fucking devastating. Like my jaw was wide open when that happened. It was so shocking. It was so impactful. And it's one of those things where it's just like, oh my God. And you know, another criticism I do have about some of the fans, because we're certainly getting into some of the fans of the show, is that like, oh, you know, this is the moment he became Heisenberg or whatever. It's like, he always was fucking Heisenberg. Literally the only thing that he needed was a like catalyst to make him just give up the bare passive aggressive like white Americanness that he fucking had. That's all he needed. He was always this narcissistic like egomaniac. It's just that he was like, I'm terminally ill, like fuck it, now I'm gonna go fucking nuts.
To me, that's the most compelling thing about this season when rewatching it this week, is not the idea that Walt is this sweet high school teacher, suburban house husband. It's that he's kind of a prick right out the gate, right? He's kind of resentful and kind of condescends to people, kind of seething a lot of the time. He's very passive aggressive. He's got this impotence that he's sort of imposed upon himself, and he's regretful and bitter about it. This cancer diagnosis, right, liberates him to do all this stuff that he's kind of been too much of a pussy to do forever. The cancer, like that's the justification, right? It's like, I can't afford this medical care. I have a son with cerebral palsy. I have a family. I want them to be taken care of. But I mean, it's not really. It's just a way he's always wanted to be.
No, absolutely. And especially like the reason that I love Felina the most is because, and you know, spoilers to the audience, I know you're probably not going to watch the show, but in the very last scene, Walter has just destroyed everything. Family members have fucking died. Like he put his wife and kids into like dire poverty due to the investigation because they took everything. And then Walt makes his way back to basically say goodbye before he essentially like commits suicide, essentially. And, you know, Skylar goes up to him he goes up to Skylar and he's like, Skylar, I just want you to know. And she goes, if you say one more time you did this for the family. And then he says, I did it for me. I did it because I liked it. And it's like, thank you. Fucking finally. Yeah. You fucking admitted it. Because like in the entire series, I was like, I'm doing this for the family. I'm doing this because I love everybody. And then at the end, he's like, no, I did it for me. And it sucks that this happened, but who gives a shit, I guess. And it's like,
because that's what he
honest.
wanted.
Yeah, it's fucking honest. Exactly. And like,
but
there's so many other elements that make that series finale amazing, but like, it is literally the most conclusive series finale ever. Like, it's one of those things where you're like, oh, they really left no stone like unturned. Like, they weren't setting it up for like anything other than, because obviously there was Better Call Saul, and then there was a movie I think it was not Gran Torino. I can't remember what the fuck it was called. It wasn't, but it was named after a car. But either way, like, that was the only thing that they kind of set up as like a whatever. But like, other than that, like, it is extremely conclusive. Like, season 5, like, if nothing ever happened with Breaking Bad again, you'd be like, holy shit, they really didn't leave any stone unturned. They didn't make you wish something else fucking happened. Like, it legitimately is the best series finale of all time, in my opinion. And I know we keep talking about the ending, so we're basically doing what a criticism of Prestige TV was. We're doing in media res here. But anyways, I want to start real quick with a little bit of the synopsis. So the series begins with Walter White, played by Bryan Cranston, who is fucking fantastic in this TV show. Like, and of course, Bryan Cranston was always a great comedic actor, but seeing him as like this serious, like, psychopath piece of shit drug kingpin is awesome. He's so fucking good in the show.
And one of the things that this season does really well is, what I gather is that the tone of the season, which is kind of tragicomic, is very different from the rest of the series. Is that right? Because there is a tragicomic element to this season.
There's a little bit of it, but, you know, there's a scene where, like, never mind, we'll get to that scene in just a little bit. But the show begins with Walter White on his 50th birthday. Him, Skylar, who's his wife, who's played by Anna Gunn, who I have always said Skylar White is the by far most misunderstood character in this entire series. She's a great character, and any fan who hates her for misogynistic reasons, go fuck yourself. Genuinely speaking, she is a great character who is one of the most morally pure characters in this entire series, which I know isn't saying quite a lot, because a lot of shit happens in this fucking TV show. But, like, everyone's like, oh, she's fucking annoying and she cheats on Walt. Who gives a shit? I don't care. Walt has murdered endless amounts of people. He is a fucking mass murderer. I don't give a shit. She's the bad one because she cheated on him once. Like, go fuck yourself. Who gives a shit?
Because she hurts his feelings.
And gets in his way of trying to do a fucking drug empire. Yeah. Like, fuck off.
All he's trying to do is do a Miami-style cartel so that she can have a comfy life.
And their teenage son, Walt Jr., played by R.J. Mitta, who, fun fact, R.J. Mitta in real life does actually have cerebral palsy, although it's not as severe as in the TV show. And I really do
Was
like
it like mine?
I mean, I would say his is maybe a bit more extreme.
More
like,
pronounced?
More pronounced. Like, he can still walk, like, unimpeded, but, like, his verbal is basically the same as the show, but his actual physical disability is basically non-existent in real life. It's almost all verbal. It's just really cool to see, obviously, that kind of representation in a very respectful way. Walt Jr.'s
I thought it was pretty cool.
Like,
yeah.
Great fucking character. And he has a good arc. I mean, he still plays like a teenager in the show, so he can only be so interesting versus everybody else. But like, he's always great on scene. Like, you talked about the comedic elements. Like, if there's ever a comedic moment, he's almost always the one involved.
I saw some fans saying that they feel like Walt Jr. kind of doesn't add much to the story and that he's background. And I really did not agree with that. He almost is kind of like, to me, even though again, he's the youngest character, he's kind of like our audience surrogate who kind of like sees, he doesn't see everything. Obviously, he doesn't see what his father's up to, but he sees kind of like the moral, like disintegration from the outside. You know what I mean? Kind of the weirdness of it.
No, absolutely. And he is completely in the dark about everything up until 95% of the way through the show. Like, he doesn't even realize that his dad is this drug kingpin until literally the third to last episode. So, like, he is experiencing this basically as completely ignorant of all the shit that's really going on behind the scenes. Like, even, like, Skylar figures it out, I think in season 2, if I'm not mistaken. And, like, she's not on board, but, like, she has no other fucking way out. I mean, she's, like, literally, she has nowhere else to go. She doesn't have a fucking job. She's pregnant. She eventually has an infant and her disabled son, and her husband is, anything goes bad, she's going down the fucking route to, like, lifelong prison with him. Like, she literally has nowhere to fucking go. That's why, like, people are like, oh, she did all this stuff to impede him. And it's like, she's literally taking back any power she fucking can. This man has emotionally abused and manipulated this whole fucking family. She is trapped. Like, yeah, no shit somebody like this would have a mental fucking breakdown. Yeah, no shit. And even when I rewatch this, I'm like, man, Skylar is like, I totally understand. And all I see online is she's fucking annoying. She's a bitch. I hate her. And I'm like, why? Like, so, do you want this for your fucking family, you psycho? Like, fuck off.
Just as an example of, it's funny because I heard of people, fans being really abusive and weird and misogynistic to female leads, to like kind of matriarchal characters in prestige TV. So I rewatched its entirety, Moral Oral, and I found out that in that community, people hate the character of Oral's mother, and I thought that's really weird. It's weird that this is just a thing throughout any TV show fandom.
It's just the ambient misogyny that exists in culture. That's really all it is, just amplified.
Yeah.
That's because it gets like hyperfixated on the fandom, and fandom turns the most horrible traits and just amplifies them. That's what the fuck it does. Like, just...
yeah, because it's just about you liking a show. It's not antisocial anymore. It's just a show.
Exactly. So, but at some point during the first episode, he is diagnosed with stage 3 terminal lung cancer. And as part of his sort of like, not only midlife crisis, but also his end of life crisis at the same time, he decides to start cooking meth with a former student, Jesse Pinkman, played by Aaron Paul. Now, I told you, Brian, that Jesse Pinkman is the most well-developed and most interesting hot couch guy ever portrayed in media. And I mean that categorically. Imagine the dumbest motherfucker you knew in high school who always wore baggy clothes, always reeked of cigarettes, had just the nastiest fucking basement that you always hung out at. But he goes through a journey through hell over years. Every circle of hell he goes through in this fucking TV show. He comes out the other end literally the only one alive.
That's the journey of the good hot couch guy.
It's amazing. Like, he is to me the apotheosis of everything good and kind of bad about hot couch guys. And like, that to me is just so fucking fascinating because like, obviously we know these kind of guys. They love hanging out outside of CVS's, you know, always asking for money so they can, you know, get rolling papers so they can roll up their dirt weed that they bought for $20 more an ounce than they should have. But this guy has like a Shakespearean journey through every single horror you can think of. And then at the end of the first episode, there's some conflict with a couple gang members. Eventually Walt gets the better of them. He poisons them, kills one of them in the process, and horribly maims another. And then the next few episodes are basically Walt's hesitation to kill the last guy and like some great character development scenes between this captive and Walt, where like apparently this guy was the son of a like local store manager or something that Walt bought a bassinet from for Walt Jr. when he was a baby. And it's like genuinely kind of touching, but at the same time you're just like, well, one of you are gonna fucking die. You know what I mean? mean? Like,
Well,
it's something, because Walt, even though he is a bad person from the outset just due to his, like, narcissism and stuff like that, but he still can't bring himself to murder somebody.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well,
Like, he's still
right, and
trying to be
that's
like, I need to find any way to get out of this as much as I can without having more blood on my hands. Because, I mean, to be fair, he did it in self-defense, but he killed that guy in the fucking RV in the first place. You know what I mean? So he's already pretty fairly broken up about that, too.
I guess my read on this is episode 3, right? This is the moment where Walt kind of, it was probably the first death, but really I think the show kind of positions this as Walt's point of no return, right? So he's not Heisenberg yet, but it's him grappling with this sort of moral quandary of like, well, this guy is a real human being. He has memories and lives, and I have some tenuous prior connection to this guy, but I have to kill him. It's not just about that one guy. It's kind of about making the decision to like advance himself and to like rip off that little bit of like humanity that he kind of performs still.
No, absolutely. Yeah, it is a really, really, and to be fair, almost all episodes of Breaking Bad are at least like great. But like that moment, especially when he kills, I think it was Crazy 8 at the end, like genuinely is really sad because, like I said, he really did want to not kill him. And then
he's like kind of like almost crying as he.
Yeah, he's like crying as he's going, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Like it's just
saying like, why did you do that? Yeah,
it is genuinely devastating. Like it really is. And that's only episode fucking 3. Like we're already at episode 3 and we're already at like an incredibly emotional moment. And to be fair, there's so many others in this fucking show, but that's just like one of many. And then as the episodes go on, the cancer prognosis gets more involved. There's some scenes where Hank, who's played by Dean Norris, aka Super Based Lib, his Twitter account is fucking hilarious. I sent you some screenshots earlier.
Yeah,
they're really
guy
fucking
rules.
fun. Yeah, the sex gifs one is one of the best of all time because he literally was obviously just trying to find sex gifs on like Google and he typed it in Twitter by accident. But he plays Walt and Skyler's brother-in-law because he is married to Marie Schrader, who is played by the actress Betsy Brandt. And she, you know, even though once again people hate Skyler, but not too many people hate her, but she's way more annoying. Marie is incredibly annoying in this show. And like to be fair, I don't think it's okay to be misogynistically hateful to anybody who's playing a character in a fucking TV show or movie, but at the same time, like if you're gonna hate somebody, Marie is way more annoying.
The real reason they feel that way about Skyler is because she's a wife. She tries to exercise any sort of self-determination. And they're like, she doesn't appreciate him.
Yeah, she doesn't appreciate him, putting her in literally an unwinnable situation that almost always leads to death or financial ruin.
Watching Breaking Bad in 2026 and interpreting it as like a MGTOW show.
Yeah! No, honestly, if Walt went his own way at some point, this probably wouldn't have happened. Let's be clear.
I mean, you could argue that the whole series was Walt going its own way.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think we're at the point, this is probably my favorite part of the season. Episode 4, which is almost entirely focused on, as you mentioned, Taylor, kind of getting more into the cancer prognosis and the effects of that. So what you see is Walt's peers and his family becoming more aware of his condition. Obviously not about, his new preoccupations, but just the effect that the cancer is going to have, the toll it'll take on him. In his everyday life, people changing the way they act towards him. Skyler showing a lot of concern, a lot of kind of apprehension, a lot of worry, like things that are like positive feelings from a wife towards a husband. There's a lot of worry about him. You see a lot of his peers, old and new, kind of offering sympathy, offering some measure of support, in some cases financial support. But the effect all of this has on Walt is not that it makes him feel loved, it's not that it makes him feel good or hopeful, it's that it makes him feel deeply emasculated. Like he feels like he's being criticized and treated as no longer the provider of his household. And all of his interactions with these people are extremely curt. Obviously, going through cancer would be an extremely hard and traumatic thing, but his attitude, I hate to say it's selfish, because if someone in real life was going through cancer, that would not be a word I'd want to say, but it kind of reinforces his motivation to pursue becoming like a drug kingpin. He's now killed 2 people. In fact, as we said in the last episode, he's made this decision. He's at a crossroads where he sees someone that he's about to kill. He has a humanizing moment with them, and then he has to choose, is he going to follow that humanizing impulse, or is he going to decide that he's still going to kill them? Now, of course, it was in self-defense. That's the crossroads he's at this episode. And then this whole other episode is him saying, here's your life. Here are the 2 paths you could go down. You could spend your remaining days as a weak, sickly cancer patient. Your whole family and everyone you know can see you as a weak little boy and no longer as a man. Or you can further invest in being a more ruthless and more efficient, organized criminal. I saw some people say after I watched the season, I was looking at fan discussions, it seems like a lot of fans kind of don't like this episode episode. I saw two different people call it a filler episode, but I feel like it's extremely important to my understanding of the series.
No, I agree. And also, like, there's also the scene where Jesse goes to his house and, sees his parents and then also his, much less fail son little brother.
Yeah.
And there's that obviously very humanizing moment where the younger brother is like, no, man, they love you. What are you talking about? Because, like, at the end of the day, like, his parents see him as, like, the fuck up. And, with a lot of families, they're fuck ups. They put so much more effort into the fuck ups than they do, like, the really successful kids. Because they just assume that the successful kids will be just fine, right?
Yeah.
But the fuck ups, like, they need to basically watch them at all times. So he's like, oh, shit, I guess you're right. Like, I want to be clear here. Like, once again, Jesse Pinkman is, in my opinion, the best character of this entire series. He's amazing. Portrayed super well. Like, there's so many moments where Aaron Paul gets a chance to do, like, monologues as Jesse, and they are some of the most compelling things I've ever seen on television. Like, there's one, I think it's in season 3 or 4, I don't remember, where he goes to a, like, drug, like, treatment group, and he goes there, like, to sell drugs. Like, he's going to sell drugs. He fakes a story about him being addicted to meth, and he's selling drugs. And then, like, he listens to all these people's, like, problems or whatever, and he eventually meets his, like, future girlfriend that later gets killed at the end of the show. Spoilers. But either way, he goes to this drug, like, addiction group, and at the end, like, after hearing everything, and he's like, all your fucking sad sob stories, I bet that didn't even fucking happen to you. You made that up. He's like, what do you mean I made that up? He's like, I could tell by the look in your eyes. But I want to tell you something. I came here to sell you people drugs. And it's amazing. It's an incredible monologue. There's also one where Hank, who I think I just mentioned Hank very briefly, but he's a DEA agent. And he gets really pissed at Jesse because, Jesse's being investigated and the DEA is not getting what they want. So Hank just goes to his house, like, without any kind of, like, warrants, just beats the shit out of Jesse, like, fucks him up hard, which, of course, is, like, the least scumbag thing a DEA agent has ever done to a suspect. And then he has to meet Walt at the hospital, and Walt is like, I understand you're going through a lot right now, Jesse. He's like, no, I want to be done with you. You have given me nothing. My life is over. I'm a failure. And he just has this incredible, like, monologue. And it's an awesome scene. Like, he has so many great monologue moments. And to be fair, Walt is the reason that Jesse's life falls apart, to be very, very clear. Like, even though his life in this first season isn't going great, obviously, but, like, everything that Jesse ever has, Walt ruins. Just straight up everything he ever has.
I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility to say that Jesse, when we meet him in season 1, he's a high couch guy, he's a dirtbag, he's a fuck up. It's conceivable that this is a guy who probably wasn't going to get himself into community college. He's still fairly young and he could potentially just eventually get a normal job and have a normal hot couch guy life. Maybe he goes to jail for like 6 months to a year. Probably not going to end up in any of the situations, anything as destructive as what he ends up with because of Walt.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. Yeah, Walt sets him up for literally everything in his life that goes bad. Like, just straight up, like, Walt is the villain in everybody's story, but especially Jesse's story. Holy shit. And that's why I said, like, it's a descent into hell, because every season something happens where Jesse's life gets worse. It gets worse every time. He's like Ash from The Evil Dead. Like, no matter what, it always gets worse.
That's one of my favorite types of character, is a character who we like, who just is constantly shit on.
So that's why, and I know, once again, you're almost never going to finish the show, but if you want to see a character that you really like and he always gets shit on and loses, this is a great show for you, Brian, because you will feel that way about Jesse hardcore.
Too much of that is going to just kind of make me feel burnt out.
One good thing happens per season, and then 20 shitty things happen to him, like, straight up. It's pretty demoralizing. He also reminds me of the priest character. Oh my god, who the fuck was that in It's Always Sunny? He starts off as a priest.
Rickety Cricket,
Cricket. Yeah, so, like, it's very similar to him, although he doesn't end up, like, horribly disabled, but that's literally what his life is in the show. It's pretty hilarious. I mean, tragic, once again. And then in season 5, we got a little bit of a allusion to what is going to happen later on in the season, but eventually we get to meet Elliot and Gretchen, who are, well, one of them was Walt's former girlfriend and, like, science partner and, like, business partner, and then another one was Elliot, who later went on to marry Gretchen. And him and Skylar are invited to, like, a party, and Skylar says, like, oh, Walt's not doing well, and due to their own guilt, because they basically kind of stole his ideas from underneath them, but at the same time, Walt kind of fucked it up too, because he also decided not to be a little bit humble, and, like, even a little bit of, like, because I think he got stock at one point, but he sold it right away because he was just so scorned. And so basically he kind of financially fucked himself, and they're like, well, we kind of feel bad, so we're gonna pay for your entire cancer treatment, which, to be fair, is, like, a good thing that they're willing to do, but obviously it's a pittance for him. It's obviously like, oh, you think of me as nothing more than a beggar.
Exactly.
That's what Walt.
He's a pauper, and they're giving him pennies in the bucket to assuage their own guilt, because they think of him as lesser than them. That's how Walt sees it.
Yes, and, like, what happens happens to them at the later end of the show, they don't die or anything, but the hell that Walter puts them through, just like he puts everybody else through, is also really devastating, because I think it's in season 2, if I'm not mistaken, one of the last times they meet up before the finale, Walt and Gretchen go to like lunch, and she's like, I'm sorry what happened, Walt, but I promise you it wasn't ever this, like, we just weren't working out, like, relationship wise, and I'm sorry. And then at the end, Walt just goes, fuck you, and she walks away in tears, like, just emotionally devastated, because you could tell this was like weighing pretty heavily on her. Obviously they think he's about to die, which of course he is. He has a terminal fucking cancer diagnosis, and the last thing Walt says before he threatens their life at the end of the season, that it's like, well, all right, well, I guess there was that. At the same time, that's also another like Heisenberg moment where his like true like narcissistic nature comes out, because he just can't admit that he's like emotionally vulnerable at all. That's why he tells her to go fuck herself. And then eventually, Walt declines the offer because obviously he's too proud, and he just is going to continue to work hard selling fucking meth. And I'm sorry, do you have anything to say about episode 5 before we move on?
My main takeaway is, the lack of humility that causes him to kind of sabotage, whatever passive income he could have had from his stock in the company, to his inability to accept any assistance, even when there's pretty objectively no good reason not to, which reinforces his commitment to criminal activity to sort of assert himself against his sort of lifetime of regret.
No, absolutely. And it's just a great episode, obviously, setting up some future stuff with Gretchen and Elliot. And then in season 6, the penultimate episode of this season, so Walt undergoes his first chemotherapy session. There is a business meetup that Jesse and Skinny Pete, and also Badger shows up. Skinny Pete and Badger are incredible characters. Like, they're not obviously quite having the same arc that Jesse has, but they have an incredible arc too. By the very end, Badger and Skinny Pete become some of the best characters in the entire series. I mean that. And they also end up in the side movie that, once again, I just can't fucking remember the title, but it's the name of a car. And they show up at the very beginning of that movie. But either way, they meet up with Tuco Salamanca, who is one of the just major villains early on in the show. He's a sort of small-time drug kingpin who is just so fucking brutal. He's very clearly psychopathic, just somebody who's violent and just criminal. And of course, he's a fucking, local drug guy. Of course, he's got to be a fucking psycho. And he beats the shit out of Jesse, puts him in the hospital, and then Walt decides to get the better of him by selling him drugs initially, and then having this like little rock that he uses to explode his like office. And then Tuco, and this would obviously never fucking happen. This guy would just kill him at the end. But he's like, holy shit, you're a psycho too. I respect that. You know what I mean? And he's like, well, all right, I guess we're going to be in business after you fuck up my base of operations, which of course in real life would never happen. That guy would just kill
never
him.
happen. But right, this is kind of our moment now where at the end of this episode, Walt is kind of, this is the moment where he's fully became into what he'll eventually become, right? He's now completely comfortable in asserting his dominance in this area.
Yes, and it's also, or I'm sorry, I think it's the next episode where he wears the hat and sunglasses, the very last episode of this season, where they have to break into like a chemical lab to get methylamine or something. I think it's methylamine. And there's a baby shower where, Skylar gets a tiara for the new baby, and then she tries to return it, and she gets accused of shoplifting because, and this is by far, in my opinion, the worst side plot of the entire series, where Marie is a kleptomaniac. It's the worst side plot of the entire show.
It's a little sitcom feeling to me.
It's very sitcom, and like it never really gets resolved. She just always stealing shit, and basically nothing ever, like, I think she gets arrested once, but other than that, it's just like, it's in like almost every season, and it's just like, I understand kind of, because she's unfulfilled and she's trying to get any kind of thrill, but like, that's not interesting enough to have throughout the entire series. Like, this should have been like a one and done or something. It's just not interesting, and they keep doing it. It's fine in season 1, but after that, 2 episodes max, then get that shit out of my face. I don't want to see it again.
Even in season 1, I had that scene. I was like, this feels like a sitcom B-plot where it's like, you got this tiara, it's actually stolen. We're going to need to talk to you about that tiara, mom. What are you talking? Like, it feels like a Friends B-plot.
Oh, absolutely. And then that's also another great scene with Skylar where she's like, I'm going to tell the media that you arrested a pregnant woman. And, she starts like faking that she's giving birth and they let her go. Like, that is a funny moment. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, it is.
But but at the same time, like, that is obviously, once again, a very sitcom moment. It really fucking is. Like, Jesus. And then at the very end of the episode, Walt is able to cook up the meth that he promises to give to Tuco, which is 4 pounds, which I don't know if that's a lot of meth. I don't fucking know. I've never used meth in my fucking life. But either way, he gives him the meth. Tuco gives him a little bit more money because he gave him more than he asked for. And then at the very end, we see Tuco beat the shit out of one of his henchmen to death. And they're both horrified. It ends. Walter's like, oh my God, like a little bit like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm getting myself into this shit. And then the season's done. Like, that's it. And like, even though it is a fairly self-contained season, it is really just like, wait, that's the end of the season? Like, you're expecting it to be a little bit more explosive than that. But like, every other season is completely explosive except for that one.
Well, one of the things I think might be a factor, right, is that this was, I had read, originally intended to be 10 episodes, I think. think.
But to the 2008 writer's strike, it was cut short.
Once again, unions trying to save us from something that would become our end. They saw trauma and curse of prestige television, and they tried to strangle it in the crib.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, Brian, Netflix killed prestige TV. If that makes you feel any better.
I mean, well, no, it doesn't. That's about the worst way it could have died, to be honest.
Yeah, for you, one villain was overtaken by a much worse villain.
For real.
It's like when in like fucking Dragon Ball Z when Frieza was overtaken by Cell.
Yeah. Here I am, like, I had everyone telling me to watch these boring prestige TV shows. Well, what if everything was just on a shitty, low-budget streaming app?
And every TV show is at least ambiently Zionist now. Like, that's the thing about every streaming and like fucking like prestige show now is that they're all ambiently purposely Zionist. Like, all of them. Like, The Boys, fucking Stranger Things.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Yeah, they're all closing rank.
That's the fucking literally Jesus. But yeah, so that is the end of season 1. So for my final thoughts before we get to our pluggables, I do want to say that, and I told you this quite a few times before we recorded, in my opinion, this is by far the worst season of the show, and pretty much that's the universal audience consensus, that this is the worst season of the show. It's still great. It's still really good. It's still really well composed, but like the bones of this show are really like formed here, and then all the other like portions of the body that would make this show incredible are in later seasons. I would argue especially seasons 4 and especially 5. Like by the time it got to the 5th season, every episode is a fucking 10 out of 10 banger. Like it is incredible how good every episode of season 5 is. Season 4 is still consistently really good. Season 3, there's a couple weak episodes here and there. Season 2 is really, really good, but not quite. And then season 1 is just like good to great. You know what I mean? The structure of what makes the show really good is formed in season 1 because obviously there's so many great performances by so many amazing character actors on this fucking show. Like I don't think there's a single bad actor on this show. Like just straight up, like everybody's fucking great in this show. And you know, to be fair, there's even some of the other ones, like the assistant principal Carmen, and then like later on in the show, like I think it's season 3 maybe, like Walt is just getting more desperate for like affection because obviously Skylar isn't giving him much affection anymore for obvious reasons. He's like, well, you know, I've always thought very highly of you, Carmen. And she's like, Walter, what are you talking about? And then he like starts hitting on her, and then she like fucking slaps him across the face and immediately fires him. It's awesome. That's another pretty good comedy moment. And like there's another good comedy moment at the very beginning of season 3 that I don't want to spoil it for you, Brian, because like at the end of season 2, like I promise you, it is devastating what leads to this comedic moment. But like Walter goes on just a rant about like the meaninglessness of life. It's incredible. It's incredible because he's trying to make himself feel better for this tragedy that he caused, but he's doing such a poor job. He's like trying to rationalize it to people, but nobody knows it's him, obviously, but he's trying to rationalize it. It's hilarious because there's so many layers of misunderstanding and like understanding. Like the audience knows everything, Walter knows most of everything, and then everybody else knows nothing, but he's trying to justify it. It's wild. It is one of the best moments in the entire series, and almost nobody talks about it, but it's so fucking funny. And like I said, that's one of the few things I don't want to spoil if you ever continue, because it's in the next season, so it's not that much further in.
Yeah.
But like,
and we could potentially revisit this. I'm not categorically opposed to continuing certain prestige TV projects in the future.
Oh no, but we would absolutely have to make this like a multi-part. Like I would never do like, oh, we're gonna do all of season 2 in one episode. I would never fucking. We'd have to split that up in like 2 episodes at least.
Yeah, two-parter.
But either way, so yeah, those are my final thoughts. This is still a great show. I would 100% recommend, especially finishing it. Like if you can not get through, but if you can like find something to attach to in this first season, I would 100% recommend watching the show and just seeing it to its finale. Because once again, the finale is amazing. The last like the entire season 5 is amazing. So just watch it to that point. And it's, you know, it's on basically almost every streaming platform you can fucking think of. It's an incredibly available show. Just watch it. It's just a good show.
Well, believe in all of that, and I trust all of that. I do want to preface this, which is largely going to be positive in my final thoughts by saying I still don't like prestige television. So once I was about halfway through this season, it was easy to continue watching it. But it took to about that point where I was like, all right, I am watching this prestige show. I kind of have to set myself aside. I got to get myself in the right headspace and make sure I don't have any distractions, because I know these are plot-heavy shows and they have continuity and they have themes. Once I was past episode 3, and by the way, I was enjoying it immediately. I recognized that this is a very good show. It was pretty much like, all right, well, it's going to be easy to finish this season now because I'm in the thick of it. My issues with prestige television are largely not in effect, at least in this season of Breaking Bad, which again is the only season I've seen. The pace is pretty continuous. There is actually a fairly small cast of characters. One of my issues with a lot of later prestige television is that it has this huge annoying cast of characters that are all the same, and I don't really care about them. Again, this is 7 episodes, and it's pretty much in constant motion, pretty much starts at like an exciting point. And well, you know, obviously I sent Taylor the meme about Surf Dracula to explain why I don't like prestige television, and there are sort of elements of that, the flashback and the story structure thing in this, it pretty much always serves the purpose of giving you a little bit of information so that you'll understand what you're about to see and propelling the series forward. I would recommend this if you like prestige television more than I do. If you're like me and prestige TV isn't really your bag, I think you'll like watching this. I liked watching it. Again, I don't think it compelled me to feel like I need to watch the rest of the season, and it certainly hasn't caused me to change my opinions, the quote-unquote prestige TV, but it is very self-contained. And while Taylor had said that, the season finale it kind of peters out, it seems a little anticlimactic, it does tell in itself a complete story with a beginning and middle and end. The self-actualization of Walt, for lack of a better word, the negative self-actualization of our main character. Probably the biggest, the most obvious, but the most appropriate thing I could compare it to, although its climax isn't nearly as pronounced, is Scarface, right? Not just because of the drug dealer angle, but because it is sort of about, from different perspectives, right? But it's sort of about like this kind of day laboring kind of psychopath who kind of seizes upon an opportunity to make their own like megalomania come manifest through the drug trade, right? And that they reach a certain point where they can't turn back from it. They're too enmeshed in it. Obviously, like I said, they're coming from a different perspective, which makes Breaking Bad really uniquely interesting. It's bringing that story arc to a sort of middle-class, bourgeois, suburban perspective that you wouldn't normally see. It's good, and I absolutely believe that subsequent seasons are better.
No, absolutely, 100%. Like, there's a reason why this show is... In fact, I literally just clarified this today by looking up on IMDb. It is the highest-rated TV show ever on IMDb. And, I would say for good reason. It's my favorite TV show of all time. Just, once again, being full transparency here. And, like, once again, no piece of media is without fault, obviously. Like, every piece of media has its problems. But to me, this is about as close to perfection as a TV show can get for me, just due to its character development. And, like, you talked about, obviously, the, like, giant cast of characters that you don't care about or whatever. And, like, that's obviously a very reasonable complaint for prestige TV, because, of course, it's trying to be this, cinematic experience, 1 hour every fucking week for, like, 20 years or whatever. But, like, the show, for the most part, does have a fairly well-contained, like, main cast, and then a fairly well-contained, like, secondary cast and stuff like that. So, like, it doesn't get too bogged down. But at the same time, especially in later seasons, there are, like, so many different, like, interests and so many different, motivations and so many different, like, sides and stuff like that, especially later on, that it does get a little unwieldy later on in the series. But yeah, especially these first couple seasons, like, for sure, the cast is pretty small. It's literally just Walt, Jesse and his fail people, and, like, Hank and Walt's family, and Tuco, of course, and Tuco is, like, fucking fail people too. And that's really about it in season 2 for the most part. Oh, and then also Jesse's first girlfriend, who we will not get into right now, but holy shit, that is such a girlfriend of a hot couch guy. She's a reformed hot couch girl. That's what she is.
We love to see it.
Oh, geez. But either way, that is our review of Breaking Bad Season 1, and we will have at least one more Prestige TV episode, probably in a good, like, 6 months or so, to be very clear. We're not doing this for another while, because the next one is not long in episodes, but it's long in actual length, because each episode's an hour long. So it's 6 hours of watching. So
Damn it.
maybe we'll do a two-parter for that one. How does that sound, Brian? We'll do a two-parter.
Sounds worse.
But Brian, think about this real quick. So it's just The Walking Dead, and like I said, it is the best kind of Stephen King miniseries.
Okay, so I need you to know, and I know you know this when you tell me this, I am, regrettably, a very big Stephen King fan.
But you don't like the miniseries?
No, I like Salem's Lot. I like The Stand. Yeah, I like them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you do like those, you will like Walking Dead Season 1. You genuinely will. I mean that. If you like those, you will like The Walking Dead Season 1. Well, not only that, it is also, once again, the showrunner for the first season was Frank Darabont, who is still the best person to ever do Stephen King adaptations on top of it. So it's like literally the best possible Stephen King style miniseries. So I think you'll like it. It's got very Stephen King dialogue and characters, like just straight up. Like that's literally exactly what it is. Like everybody's kind of a stereotype. There's religious stuff going on. Like it's very Twilight Zone early on. Trust me, you'll like it. You'll like it.
All right. So in about half a year, we'll give it a shot. We'll see.
Exactly. And yeah, every episode is an hour long, but that's also including credits and opening sequence. So it's like 5.5 hours. But either way, we'll do that as like a Christmas special or something. How does that sound? But yeah, with that year foreshadowing, let's get into our pluggables. So you can follow me at Carlos Chantor on Twitter.com. And as well, please subscribe and follow us on both our YouTube and our Spotify channel, where we are uploading every episode simultaneously to both platforms. And as well, I've been plugging this one for the last 9 or 10 episodes now, and I eventually will make content for it when I have the energy. But I have a personal finance YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok account called Tailoring Your Budget. And when I do finally upload video and audio content for that and shorts, long form content, etc., it will be a personal personal finance channel that is not reactionary. I want to be very clear. It will not be the personal financial content where it's like, if you buy, avocado toast once in your life, you'll never buy a house and go fuck yourself, or blaming you for being poor. I'm not going to be doing that shit because I am not a scumbag. But I've gotten...
Are you going to teach me how to get a Bugatti?
Absolutely. I will teach you how to get a Lamborghini. I will get you a Gucci belt, if that's really what the fuck you want.
Teach me how to drive?
I will teach you how to fucking drive. I'll teach you how to drive stick, even though I don't know how to drive stick, so we'll be learning for the first time together. But either way, yes, please subscribe, follow, and watch those videos whenever they come out, which, one of these days will happen, I genuinely promise. But either way, so that is my pluggable for my personal channels. And as well, talk about personal people who help make our lives amazing. Lucifer and the Father, and of course, Scott, Sean, and Robert. They're creating a fantastic series. We just had Scott on a previous episode. It will be released probably another episode or two after this, but either way, it was a great discussion we had on him on the buddy cop and buddy action genre. It was, of course, great to have him on as always. He's very helpful, along with Sean and Robert as well. They're great friends of the pod. They're great friends of ours, and we want to see their dream of making this show into reality. Last time we talked to them, they're still in post-production for episodes, I believe, 2 and 3, and, they need more moral and financial support to continue their post-production process, so please donate to them, because we want, once again, their dreams of being in the creative fields and making great content a reality, because they're just great friends of ours. They're cool guys, and they have a cool vision for what they want to do.
They're great friends to the pod. They are constantly working. I know we kind of might seem like we, as just their friends and allies, are giving the same updates every week. They are constantly working. They are pretty consistently in communication with us directly, but also with their community and with their fan base and with their donors. That's why we want to support them so much. For any independent filmmaker, whether it's in what they describe as the faith-based community, whether it's someone that maybe is, I know we have people that we are fans of and that we have been friends with who work in kind of like, I don't know if you want to call it like anti-capitalist media production. Most people have to have like day jobs, Some people have multiple day jobs in addition to fucking doing podcasts or video essays. Imagine that, but you're trying to make like a full television miniseries or like a theatrical style movie. Because that's what Sean and Scott are trying to do. They're trying to make movies, essentially, while having families and lives and stuff they gotta do, Real fun having Scott on. You'll hear that soon, but he had a lot of insights into our topic. He brought a fresh perspective that was unique for both Taylor and I's. The conversation really benefited from. So please help him out. We say it all the time, but we really do mean it.
No, absolutely, 100%. And as we always say with our various crowdfunds that we pitch, if you donate to the campaign, just send us a YouTube comment, send us an email, just showing us you donated, and we will, within good reason, match those donations about 10, 15, 20 bucks, because we want their dreams to become a reality. And as well, talk about people whose dreams are going to soon become a reality. Luigi Mangione, literally as of today, I believe it was federal or New York judge, it was one of those two, said that the evidence that was, or at least the vast majority of the evidence that was gained during the Altoona stop with the backpack is inadmissible in court, which is huge fucking news. This is some of the best news we've had about Luigi literally all year. In fact, arguably in like the top 2 or 3 best news we've had since he was arrested. Like, it's great.
The backpack may have been the make or break thing. As a non-legal expert, I mean, it seems like that was what the bulk of the quote-unquote damning evidence came from. And if that's inadmissible, we say all the time, they don't really have the evidence.
Exactly. Every day it's becoming more and more clear he didn't do it. And it's literally more clear than fucking ever if the vast majority of quote-unquote, make or break physical evidence that they have is just completely not even admissible in at least one style of court that they're going through here. Like, that's incredible. I haven't heard of somebody who's facing these kind of charges get a break like this in a long fucking time. That's massive. Because usually when they have trials this big, they have these motherfuckers dead to rights. But they, of course, don't have them dead to rights because, of course, Luigi didn't fucking do it.
Because they didn't fucking do it.
And, we always talk about how little evidence there are. Just, like, once again, look at those old CCTV camera footage of, like, the guy with the mask or whatever, and eyebrows, nose look nothing like him. The build looks nothing like him. I mean, come the fuck on. Like, seriously. That guy was fairly stocky, and Luigi was skinny and had bushy eyebrows and, like, a pretty, thin nose, and that guy had, a slightly thicker nose. Like, he looks nothing like the guy. Like, just let's be real here. And we're not even just saying it because the murder that happened was, and obviously that doesn't change anything, but it was still based. I understand why. People were like, oh, I get it. Like, immediately. And that almost never happens on a murder.
Well, because your healthcare insurer is probably killing you right now, or it's killed someone that is in your family. That's the reality.
No, absolutely. And, somebody said I was going on Twitter today and I saw in the comments that something that was really funny. If this somehow, gets him off, that is so much, poetic irony, because legal technicalities are the way that healthcare insurers get out of paying for people's shit. If the cop's screwing up, legal precedent and, like technicalities got him off, that would be amazing. That's awesome.
I'm still cautiously optimistic, but this does appear to be some very good news.
Yes, absolutely. To be very clear here, Luigi is unfortunately facing very much an uphill battle. He is still facing 2 different state governments as well as the federal government, so it is definitely not going to be a cakewalk. But once again, Luigi has some of the best statistics and like likelihood of getting found not guilty of almost anybody we've ever seen facing these kind of significant charges.
Yeah,
so
yes.
we need to be there for him. We need to, give him moral support. If you want to financially donate to him, both Brian and I have donated to the crowdfund, but if you want to, you're more than welcome to, and we will, within good reason, about 10, 15, 20 bucks if you just send us an email, send us a YouTube comment. Once again, match those donations because we want Luigi to have the best possible trial. And, talk about other people who have way more evidence against them. Chud the Builder, who I'm not going to get into because he's a fucking loser, who I didn't even hear of until a week before he tried murdering somebody. A racist hate crime, to be very clear, in that fucking incident. And that guy has so much evidence against him, he is absolutely going to prison, to be very clear. But Luigi, they don't have fucking jack shit on him. And also talk about other people who have great dreams and aspirations. Us. We have a Patreon. At the moment, I don't believe we have any patrons, but become a patron of ours today. You're a normie coworker who's always talking about their favorite prestige TV show, and you could be like, oh my god, this one guy who loves this TV show and this other guy who really liked it but genuinely hates prestige TV talked about it, and I have some opinions on why the hatred of Skylar is horrible because it's misogynistic bullshit. And they'll be like, yeah, Skylar fucking sucks. She can fucking suck my dick. She's a bitch, and she needs to go back in the kitchen and make me dessert. And you'll be like, yeah, sure.
You can hear this hot take 48 hours early, and then once you're nice and informed about this 12 years old show, you can tell all your female coworkers how you don't agree with how Skylar was treated by the fan base, and they'll know that you're really good and cool, and they'll go, yeah, that's a good guy.
Exactly. You would say, if that was my wife, it just wouldn't have went down like that. I would never do that to her.
If I was Walt, I would have done almost everything exactly the way he did, but I would have been good to Skylar.
Because you know what? She's a real one right there. That's a real bad bitch right there.
Some people say that women hold up half the sky. I actually think that women hold up 2/3 of the sky.
Agreed. Absolutely they do. Just they hold up everything. And then when they hold up everything, that means I can, eat my chicken tendies in my room.
Yeah, they hold up everything when I'm waiting for them to decide where they want to go for dinner.
People take way too long to get ready for dinner. Brian, do you have any pluggables as well?
As always, we have a Facebook page, Millennials Are Old, 3 words. And we have an Instagram and Threads account, all 1 word, Millennials Are Old Pod. That remains the best and most consistent way to reach us if you want to do a Gamergate on us, if you want to dox us, if you love us, if you want to make recommendations, if you potentially want to be a guest on the show, if you want to send us cruel memes about how we're millennials and we're cringe and we like Hufflepuffs or whatever, you can do it on the Millennials Are Old Pod Instagram and Threads accounts. I also have an Instagram and Threads account that is JLo Biafra on Instagram and Threads. Other than that, I got nothing going on because I still have a day job, and I gotta tell you, I love it. It gets better every day, and I'm going back there tomorrow.
Absolutely. We're very excited for you to go back to work, Brian, because honestly, you've been kind of fucking lazy recently, man. You gotta put more fucking effort. I'm kidding. Yeah, Brian has been working very hard these last few months at this point.
So I got nothing to complain about compared to a lot of people, but I am consistently doing about 5 hours of overtime a week. Not by choice.
No, definitely not by choice. But Brian, we appreciate you. You're making the world turn, and that's fucking awesome. Well, I'm sitting here being a lazy welfare bum. But speaking of people who would have done much better in a society that actually has a functioning welfare state and benefits, that ends our review of season 1 of Breaking Bad. And you know what? Speaking of people who are about to break bad, Brian, I'm about to break
my bed because I'm about to jump on it so hard and go to sleep.
Exactly, because we had a long day of watching prestige TV. So have a good night, everybody. Sleep tight, and we'll come back with a great episode for you next time, as always.